of soul.
This is Bass Talk Live. Your host, Mark Jeffries and Matt Pangrack. BTL is brought to you by Lowrance, Lew's, Strike King Lures, Bass Cat Boats, Ducket Fishing, Spro, AFCO, Big Bite Baits, Sunline, and TH Marine. BTL coming at you. Good Thursday, everybody. Welcome once again to BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Our listeners and viewers should be good, too, because if you're watching this live and not on the iTunes replay, you have a block of live programming. Because right after our show, you can just roll over and watch Zona Live in Michigan.
Very cool.
That goes until noon. It hasn't started yet. It'll start towards the end of our show.
Who's he with?
I believe deductive reasoning tells me he's probably with Keith Combs, because Keith Combs has grown out an ample amount of facial hair and was holding large smallmouth with Mark Zona on his social media. So I would assume he might be a part of that. Keith Combs with a mustache and beard doesn't look like Keith Combs.
Really?
Yeah. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. What else do we... I know you said you had one thing. This is not at all how we planned on doing this.
No. Great show today. We're going to have Davy Hite on, reminisce a little bit about the past, talk about the future, obviously talk about the present. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a totally different dude.
Totally different looking Keith Combs.
Yeah, you were dead on that. So, good show today. And first of all, dude, we passed a milestone yesterday. You know, we've been doing this YouTube thing, and hopefully YouTube is working today.
See, look at that. There's a close-up of it.
Oh, yeah. Is YouTube working today, Matthew?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't tried.
You haven't checked yet?
No, I've been too busy. Dude, I have crunched. I have, okay, so before this, the biggest stat that I'd ever had, remember the 23s with John Cruz?
Yes. Yeah.
This might rival it with what I have found about Davy Hite and his wins. So continue.
All right. Well, we will be the judge of that. Anyway, great show today with Davy. And I want to touch on a couple things. One, I had mentioned we had passed a milestone on YouTube, 7,000 subscribers. And you know what I relate that to, Matthew? That is like a jam-packed arena for minor league hockey. Not to compare the show to that, but think about it. Some of those minor league hockey teams, they play in those small arenas.
Mm-hmm. Or a Tampa Bay Rays game.
Something like, very funny. Man, that is just a left cross right there. Yep. So greatly appreciate all the people. We haven't been doing the YouTube thing very long, just a little over a year. And
why haven't we been doing the YouTube thing?
That's on me. That's on me. We've talked about it on the show. That is my horrible mistake in the business world.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah, that is all on me. I am all to blame for not getting involved in the YouTube game earlier. So greatly appreciate it. The entries for the Apex Bass Games, overwhelming. It's been...
Is it still going on?
Very, very cool. Yeah, we're going to take those all the way up.
All right. How do they enter again?
Just basszone.com.
And what is it again?
Apex Bass Games.
Which is in 10 seconds?
It's a way to give back to the fans through a very creative competition that I have created with the help of Major League Fishing.
And how do they enter?
Just click on the banner, man. Enough about that.
These are all very important things. If you want entries, if you want people to win it, you got to promote the stuff. You can't just throw a banner out there and then act like it doesn't exist.
Dude, we've been talking about it every day. They know I will just, it is just a small mention every show.
Talk about it every day.
We're going to keep going. All right. Real quick, I want to touch on one thing. Now, I don't know if you watch this or not, but what does The Voice and the Bassmaster Classic have in common? Any idea? And there are some things that the Bassmaster Classic enormously did better than The Voice.
Each show lasts 4 hours?
You're close. You're in the ballpark, dude. Okay, the final voice show was on, what day was that? Tuesday, I think.
Okay.
I think it was Tuesday. Dude, they had 2 hours of buildup. And, the fans vote on this.
Yep.
They had 2 hours of buildup. And then when they finally get down to the final 3, they go, and the winner is this guy over here. And they don't say anything to the 2 other people. They don't say anything to the guy that wins the thing. Boom, they're done.
Right. Now, I will say Mercer has done a heck of a job doing that.
I'm not talking about the classic, dude.
Oh, I thought you said you were.
No, I'm talking about the voice right now.
Yeah, but I thought that's how you were relating it to the classic, that the second place guy gets the walk of shame.
No, hang on a minute.
Okay, all right. I'm with you.
What they did on The Voice is they didn't even talk to the guy that won. They had all this other crap that was before the big announcement on who won. Like, they had Blake Shelton performing. They had, what is her
name? So he wins and it's over.
It's done. Finished. See ya. Done. Thank you very much. That's it. And then they just cut away from the 2 people, of which I thought the 2 people that did not win, I thought one of those 2 were going to win. Anyway, there was nothing there. And then they had this massive buildup, which just unnecessary stuff, of which the people that should, all right, at least be able to make a comment after they win or lose, either one, they got nothing. They got 0.
Well, it's over. They won. There ain't nothing more to be said. He's going to have plenty of time to say stuff on all the late night shows, on all the interviews.
I don't know. It just, dude, it was like a 5-second cut.
Okay, so how was this like the classic?
Well, I was talking about the buildup.
Oh, the buildup.
The buildup.
Oh, we had that show.
Yeah.
Where it is a long time, but
yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Necessary.
What I'm saying, what the classic does enormously better is after the winner, is crowned.
Yeah, they get 20 minutes. They can talk as long as they want.
Dude, it's not even remotely close to a comparison.
Oh, and they get the victory lap.
Yeah.
So you were saying that the classic doesn't.
Oh, the classic is enormously better.
I thought you were going to go the route of the second place guy who doesn't get to say anything and then gets the walk of shame.
No, the dude just won the biggest thing on television, and it's like, okay, that's it, folks. Thanks a lot. We're out of here.
Yeah, but I'm sure that they understand that people are watching to see who won, not what he had to say after he won. So I'm sure that was strategy to build up.
No, and it's
network
so
TV,
frustrating,
man.
dude.
It's network
they're selling
TV.
ads and doing all kinds of other stuff. But anyway,
well, yeah, they're there. Making money.
It was quite entertaining, though. All right, so yeah, I was a little frustrated.
Which guy
with
won?
that.
Whose team?
Dude, I didn't even know the guy's name.
No, but whose team was he on? Was it another Blake Shelton?
Yeah, it was
another
Blake Shelton.
God, that guy's killing it.
Well, he had 2
He's
in the
the
finals.
Kevin Van Dam of The Voice. He is.
He had 2 people, 2 out of
That's
the 3.
what I'm saying. He's the KVD of The Voice.
Yeah. The girl that I liked that sang the Brandy Carlisle song didn't make it.
Why is there gum? Oh, that's Brad's gum.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Here, it's in a cap. No, I give it up to him. If he wants to leave gum all over here, he's bettering his.
The second thing, real quick, man. All right, yesterday I had my review for my school year with the principal.
Okay. Like a year-end walkout review.
Yeah, year-end, you close everything out.
You get good marks, Mark.
I got great marks. I also got an award. Okay, I was unaware that there was a selected group of the faculty that actually put together, I think it was like 7 different awards, and they're kind of quirky awards for the faculty. All right, so there was this committee. They had these awards. I actually won an award, and here's my certificate. And you will not be surprised about this award. Here, just let me give it to you there, and you can read it off.
Most likely to punch another faculty member.
No.
I don't even know if I consider this an award.
Yeah.
I think okay, most likely to.
Yeah.
I'm letting people guess here. Mark Jeffries, school faculty voted on it.
Yeah.
Mark Jeffries is most likely to be heard teaching all around the school.
I'm pretty loud when I teach, dude.
Now, you can look at this 2 ways, Mark. You can look at this 2 ways. You could look at it as you are loud and the other teachers know that you're loud and it is strictly a volume, or here's the way I would look at it, because I'm a glass half full type of guy.
Yes, you
I
are.
would look at this as when you are in that educational setting, you are always trying to mold the minds of youth and better them in the short amount of time that you have them present. So you are in teacher mode regardless of where you are in the school. Not necessarily at a high volume, but say you walk into the gymnasium, there's Mark Jeffries teaching a student something. You walk into the cafeteria, there's Mark Jeffries teaching a student something. You are being heard teaching all around the school, not just when you are required to and have to in the classroom.
Yeah.
So I would take it that way as opposed to you're really loud. But I have a feeling they weren't going with option 2 when they gave you that award.
No.
Did they have that award last year, or was this a...
No, it was a new thing. It just, with
Shocker.
everything going on and all that and everything. So, the classroom that's next to mine is the Spanish class.
Oh, that is true.
Yeah.
Ella Bass just pointed out.
Yeah. Most likely to wear a polo.
No. That is
What?
a vintage shirt today. So you have combined your classic Nike polo
No, these
with...
are old.
I know, but
These are
you
like
have combined
3
the
years old
striped
polos.
element of your wardrobe with the vest-like element of a solid torso.
No, these were our 2017
That's a great
Coaches
eye,
shirts.
Rich.
Yeah. Anyway. So, yeah. As I
Mark's
mentioned-
sweater or Mark's shirt today looks like a sweater vest and a golf shirt had a baby.
That's pretty funny. That's on YouTube.
Yes.
I'm so glad that YouTube is working. All right. So, as I mentioned, the classroom next to mine is the Spanish classroom, of which the Spanish teacher and I, we get along really good. But so many times, all of a sudden I would hear this, pounding on the wall, and I would know what that would mean.
That you're talking to.
That I'm too loud. So, but great lady.
Muy ruidoso.
She
Muy
does a great
ruidoso.
job.
What is that?
She told me that she was going to treat me like a piñata one time.
Jeffries, muy ruidoso.
Yeah.
That means you're very loud.
Very loud.
I did have to quickly Google what loud was in Spanish. I had the muy down though.
Dude, you're on it there. All right, so Davy Hite today. Next week, Scott Canterbury. Then we're going to have Jamie Hartman on Tuesday. And then right now, tentatively, we're going to have Mark Menendez on Wednesday to kind of give us an update on some of the stuff that he's involved with. So next week, another jam-packed week. And I think we're only doing 3 shows next week. I got some stuff going on there that I got to take care of. So possibly only 3 shows next week, but maybe 4. We'll see. All right. Anything else, Matthew?
Do we want to do some of the crazy Davy Hite stats before we get him on so we can ask him about it, or do we want it? Do we want it to?
Just throw a couple out there.
Okay, so everyone knows Hite has a classic 99, I believe, right? The 99 classic win under his belt. Was it 99? I can't believe out of all the stats I did remember it was 99. What? It had to be 99.
What's that?
Then he won the classic.
Yeah, 99.
So he is part of a group of 5 anglers that will always be 5 anglers. No one will ever join this group. People have come very close to joining the group, but they won't.
Yeah.
Those are Cup and Classic winners, with obviously the Pro Circuit going to the title. There is no FLW Cup, Forest Wood Cup anymore. So that's George Cochran, Luke Clausen, Dion Hibden, David Fritz, and Davy Hite. I was surprised there were 5 of them.
Yeah.
That's 5 guys who have won both titles. And that list will never win. I need to see where I want to go in here. I got one side that I think will save. So he is also the only angler, I believe, to win them in back-to-back years. So he won the 98 Forest Wood Cup, Forest Wood Championship, and then the 99 Classic. And I was looking at and you don't even know this part, I was looking at the fields, the top 10, because I just like to look at the top 10s in the tournaments that guys win to see who's back.
Yeah.
Perhaps historically, looking back on it, the 2 most stacked top 10 championships in tournament fishing history. And I believe that's a very bold statement to say.
Yeah.
Listen to this. And I went back. So on September 19th, 98, he wins the Forest Wood Cup. The top 10, Davy Hite, Tommy Biffle, Gary Klein, George Cochran, Jerry Williams, Rick Clunn, Billy Schroeder, Denny Brower, Clark Wendlandt, and Mike McClellan. That was the top 10.
That's stacked.
Currently, Davy Hite, George Cochran, Denny Brower, Rick Clunn, and Gary Klein are all in the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame. So that's 5 out of the top, or 6. Yeah, 5 out of the top 8.
Yeah. And two of those guys have a good shot at making
So
it.
Here's 3. Three have a shot. Because Wendlandt has like 3 Angler of the Years and
No, you're
titles,
right.
and Mike
You're right.
McClellan has all the wins, and he's still young, and Wendlandt's still young.
Yeah.
I mean, I think both of them are one big win away from a Hall of Famer for sure. Biffle, probably going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Clark Wendlandt and Mike McClellan,
They have a shot.
they have a shot at the Hall of Fame. So you have 5 out of the top 8 in the Hall of Fame, 8 out of the top 10 potential Hall of Famers.
Yes.
That's strong. Now,
Yeah.
let's roll over to 99 when he wins the Bassmaster Classic.
Okay.
Listen to this top 10. Davy Hite, Denny Brower, Hall of Fame. Larry Nixon, Hall of Fame. Gary Klein, Hall of Fame. Ron Sheffield, not in the Hall of Fame, but very
Yes.
iconic angler.
Yes.
Mike Iaconelli.
Will be in the Hall of Fame.
Hopefully he won't be the Pete Rose of the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame.
No.
He'll be in the
No
Hall of Fame.
cheating
Okay,
scandal.
so
No.
Hite, Brower, Larry Nixon, Gary Klein, Ron Sheffield, Mike Iaconelli, Mark Risk,
Yeah.
KVD, Jack Wade, and Mickey Bruce.
Okay. All right.
That's really strong. Denny,
Yeah.
Larry, Gary, Ike, KVD, Davey, all Hall of Famers. So I'm thinking, what is the only other tournament that I could think of, and let's bring it back a little bit more recent, that had a stacked top 10 like that? My
2000
mind wandered to the 2005 Classic, the Three
Yeah.
Rivers, the toughest Classic historically in history, the one that Kevin Van Dam won with 12 pounds, 15 ounces. This is the only other one that eventually will, in my opinion, rival the 2 championships
Read
that
'em off. Read
Davy
'em off.
Hite had.
Read 'em
Kevin
off.
Van Dam, Aaron Martins, Gerald Swindle, George Cochran, Mike Iaconelli, Edwin Evers, Davy Hite, 7th in that tournament in 2005, Skeet Reese, Scott Rook, and Tim Horton. So KVD, he's in. Aaron Martins will be in. Swindle will be in.
Yeah.
Cochran is in. Ike will be in. Edwin will be in. Hite is in. Reese will be in. And Rook, retired, long shot there.
Yeah.
He does have a wins, but he's one of those, he's one of those established guys. And Timmy Horton, I believe, still has a chance.
Yeah. I agree.
So that's pretty cool stuff. If
That
we have
is.
2 minutes, because I don't know when we'll have him on, I did this stuff with. So in the one that he won, the Cup, he finished. Biffle finished second, and we know Biffle had finished second in a Classic. So I went back, and this has nothing to do with Davy Hite. I just found this interesting. I went down this wormhole. Did you realize that between 1990 and 2000, Tommy Biffle finished second in 2 Bassmaster Classics and 3 Forest Wood Cups. And he finished second in Forest Wood Cups 3 out of 4 years in 97, 98, and 2000s. Meaning that in a span of a decade, he had 5 championship runner-up finishes. And out of the 22 championship events that were held during that entire decade, Tommy Biffle finished second in 20% of them.
That's why he's a little bitter sometimes.
It makes
Not all
total
the
sense
time.
why he
Not all
still
the
wants
time.
to cut everybody.
Yeah, that's something I had no idea. I knew he had a few seconds, but I had no idea it was something like that.
Yeah, and one was to Brian Kirchhoff.
Yeah, and we talked about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, there's your fun facts of the day. I hadn't done that in a while, so that made me happy.
that's-
Sorry if you guys had to sit through some boring stats
That is
before
good
we got
stuff.
to Davy Hite.
That is good stuff. All right, we're going to take a break here on a Thursday. Come back with Davy
That's
Hite.
true. There are some guys who have won the Cup that could still win the Classic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was wrong on that.
And he pointed that out on the instant feedback.
Larry pointed that out.
No, it was Jim.
Well, Larry pointed it out on YouTube. Jim pointed it out on the BTL instant feedback. How did I not think of that? That's my closed-mindedness.
Okay. All right. Still good stuff, though. All right, everybody, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The ultimate fishing system starts with Lowrance HDS Live. Upgrade to HDS Live with a Ghost trolling motor, live sight transducer, or Structure Scan 3D, and get up to $500 cash back.
Yeah, you care about gear ratios, inches per turn, and ball bearings, but most importantly, you want reliability and dependability in the equipment you use. Luz doesn't cut corners when it comes to the gear they build. The new Speed Spool LFS is the best $99 reel in the market. Go see for yourself.
We've paired one of the most iconic hulls in the history of bass boats with a proven lineup of trusted accessories. We're bringing you best-in-class value and performance, leaving others in your wake. Turnkey value, turnkey performance. The Pantera 2 is an overachiever in the 19-foot category. Once you hit the throttle, you'll feel the rush, and there's no looking back.
Kevin, what are you doing here?
Oh, I'm just filling in for Billy.
I need 660 shad crankbaits in the Series 5 model.
We're out.
You're not out. You got all kinds of them right there.
We're out.
Kevin, I need 6.
Have a lollipop.
I do not want a lollipop.
Have a lollipop.
Do you have it in sexy shad color?
At Duckett Fishing, we have assembled the top pros in the country to help us design rods to give you a competitive advantage. Castability, strength, durability, action, sensitivity, weight and balance, and consistency. Combine that with the best warranty in the industry, and you have rods that are pro-driven.
Duckett Fishing, pro-driven.
All right, we are back closing out the week here on a Thursday. And, hey, man, a lot of people are impressed with your statistical work.
Yeah, except the fact that there's still, I guess the statement, there will never be anybody that wins a Bassmaster Classic and a Forest Wood Cup is correct. But the statement, there will never be anybody again who wins a Forest Wood Cup and a Bassmaster Classic may not be correct.
That is correct. All right, it is time to bring in our special guest, and we've had Davy on a couple times, but I thought it'd be a good idea to get him on, talk a little bit about the break, talk about all the tournaments that are getting ready to happen on the Elite Series, and dive into a little historical stories, hopefully. So let's welcome in Davy. Davy, you there, man?
I'm here, Mark. Good to be with you guys.
Yeah, man. Thanks for taking time out. And what has this break been like for you?
Well, it was honestly the first part of it was a little disappointing because they closed the boat ramps in South Carolina, but fortunately for us, only for about a week and a half. So then I just went fishing every single day. Even on days, I'd fish 5 or 6 days in a row and say, well, I'm not going to go tomorrow. And then by about 10 o'clock, I'd have to go fishing again. So yeah, a lot of fishing going on, no doubt about it. I've fished the last few days here. I backed off a little bit after about 2 or 3 weeks, I guess, but I did fish the last 3 days here in South Carolina. So a lot of fishing. We've had a ton of rain here recently, so I had enough of it after about 3 days fishing in the rain, so I'm taking today off.
All right, very nice. Let me ask you this. We had Preston Clark on a few weeks ago, and I want to know, Davey, how good would that event have been on Santee Cooper if none of this would have happened in the Elite Series, would have been at Santee Cooper when it was scheduled to be there.
Oh, it would have been awesome, no doubt about it. And the first event that we're going to open up with at Eufaula, it'll still be really good, but it would have been better. I think that for the most part, the entire schedule that we've had to change those dates. Now, that northern swing, we're going to be there at a great time up north in July, 1st of August. But the Santee Cooper, the Eufaula tournament, the Chickamauga tournament, those tournaments probably not going to be quite as good as they were going to be. I truly think, since I've been associated with bass, as an angler and now working with the guys at Bass Live, that was the best schedule for the sites and the time of year that we've had that I've ever known of. And it's very unfortunate that we had to mix that up. But on the positive side, it's going to be pretty cool going to those lakes at a different time, because we've seen Santee Cooper in the spring. We've seen Chick in the spring, early postpone sort of things. You see guys go there in the fall of the year, and you're going to learn some different techniques. And Santee will still be good, but I don't think you will see the weights from top to bottom of the field that you would have, definitely not in April. The exact same week we're going to be there was a team championship there last year, and the first day leading team had 5 for 35. So There'll still be some big fish caught, but it'll fall off. You just won't see it all the way down the field like you would have in April.
Davey, in your career, you have fished the tour side and the Bassmaster side at the same time, so you know what it takes. You did that for 3 or 4 years, I believe. You know what it takes to do back-to-back tournaments with all the travel. You've got a lot of the Elite Series anglers who have not experienced 3 consecutive weeks of tournament fishing with the new schedule the way it is in New York and the rigorous schedule the remainder of the year. How do you think these guys are going to hold up, and how much of a challenge and who excels, in your opinion? Is it going to be the mental and the physical aspect of what is coming up in the next 3 or 4 months for the Elite Series anglers?
That's a good question you're asking there, Matt, because you fish multiple day tournaments, and you have to somewhat pace yourself. And it's like any other sporting event. How do you pace yourself when you know you need to give 100% the entire time to be competitive? But number one, I hope some guys have stayed in shape and fishing shape and maybe have been able to work out, because physically if you have to fish 3 weeks in a row and you're not in good physical shape, it's going to be very tough on you. And you start having distractions like my back aches, my knees hurt, those things that are on your mind that you really don't need to be on your mind while you're competing. So it'll be difficult. It's similar to the Classic, although the Classic is only 1 week. You better know from day one, at registration, at the meet, doing things, going to dinner, that you need to pace yourself, because it's definitely a marathon, not a sprint. 3 weeks in a row of fishing at the elite level will be it'll be challenging for a lot of those guys.
And you also look at those fisheries and the propensity there for long runs, a wind. I mean, there's some stuff that could kick their butt there, and being away from home for a month. Yeah. Throw all that in with first and second year Elite Series guys. It'll be really interesting to see who's able to handle this.
Yeah, it really will. I mean, that's a great point. But my advice would be pace yourself. You've got to fish hard. You've got to get all your practice time in, because the St. Lawrence River, gosh, you couldn't touch it all in a month, let alone 2.5 days of practice. So that's going to be very important to make good use of your time and understand that you need to get lots of sleep and try to eat right.
Davey, obviously with the hardware that's behind you, you've had an enormous amount of success on the water. And I think you've had an enormous amount of success being on the media side now, covering the guys on the Elite Series doing Bassmaster Live. What I would like to know is, when you look at things, the way things were in the past, and compare it to now, what is more important, what you do on the water or what you do off the water?
That's a great question. And I hate to not give a direct answer, but I think it's 50-50. And I think the sooner an angler realizes that, the more successful they'll be. You've got to have success on the water to get attention, to get the sponsors' attentions, to that sort of thing. Now, let's say 90% of the people have to have that. There are some people that are just so good at marketing, they're so good at talking, they're so good with a camera in front of them that they can they can make a living just doing a great job working for sponsors. But the fishing part is equally as important. But I think most people probably come in and think, man, if I catch them, I'm set. And that's not true. But I think most people probably miss it on that end more so than the other end. I will say real quick, Denny Brower and Guido Hibden told me personally, if you want to make a living, you can be a great fish catcher. If you want to make a living in sports, you can also make it in marketing and be involved in the sport somehow. But if you want to make and I'll just abbreviate, a dang good living, you have to do both. You have to do both, and I couldn't agree anymore. You have to be able to do both.
In the past, I know that Ray Scott used to always say, it's a $1 million win if you win the Bassmaster Classic, and the accolades and the compensation that went down once somebody did win the Bassmaster Classic. Obviously, I think that has changed a little bit just because of the dynamic and the economics of this industry. But when you won the Classic, how did it change your life? Did it change your life truly from a financial perspective? And can you compare to what has taken place in what I call the modern era or the Elite Series area from a financial standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, I remember hearing Ray say that it was worth $1 million to win the Classic, and I thought that was a little far-fetched. But I truly think over 20 years, I did make that off of the Classic. The one thing it changed immediately is every time I did a show, every time I did a seminar, every time I was introduced from that point on, it was Bassmaster Classic champion. Yeah. It was that title in front of Davy Hite. And that changes everything to have that title. And I just think it's important to realize as a young angler, and it took me a few years, and I had some advice from some other good guys, but in my opinion, until you win a Bassmaster Classic or BASS Angler of the Year, maybe a Cup, I mean, there's a few other of those titles that you could throw in there. Until you do one of those big things, I felt like I was year to year. I think it changes your footprint in the sport when you're able to do one of those things. It gives you longevity with sponsors. Now, can you win a Classic and never catch them again for 30 years and, make $1 million? Maybe not, probably not. But I think it gives you, it just adds something to your title when you can put one of those big things, one of those big accomplishments in front of what you do. And I won Angler of the Year in 97, just before the Cup in 98 and the Classic in 99. I had a few good years, got really lucky. But I dry heaved. I probably got more emotional when I won Angler of the Year. Right before weigh-in, I knew that I had enough, I was going to win, because I knew it was going to change my life and my family's life. And I wouldn't have to worry about making a house payment nearly as much as I had the 3 years before that.
Yeah, no, that's great. All right, man. How much have you learned from being interviewed to now doing the interviewing from a media perspective? Have you taken some of the mistakes, some of the good things that the media has done when they interviewed you, and actually applied that to some of your coverage of the Elite Series?
Well, first of all, I need to say that I apologize when I was on the fishing end for being so evasive and sandbagging and not really want to talk about what the fishing was like. Because I see that now, and it's so frustrating, but I get it. And, I get a chance to work with some awesome people, Tommy Sanders, Marcus Arnold, Dave Mercer, those guys, y'all know them. I mean, they're just awesome people to be around. And I've always said they're better at what they do than I could be, and I was a little nervous about moving into this. But the one thing that I do have is the experience of being on the other side of the camera, the other side of the microphone. And I just try to understand, hey, what that guy is thinking, what his job is, what he needs to be able to do. And then it's the opposite when you're on the other side of that camera, and try to combine those two things and understand, hey, we're all about this sport, and we're trying to do a job and make a living. And I think I've just it's been cool now that I can be on either side of the camera. The one thing that I do care very passionately about, I think the fishermen, the fish, number one, is the star, and then number two, the fishermen. And I try to be as positive, and I try to, I guess, a lot of times throw a soft underhanded pitch to a fisherman and let them have the opportunity to talk about their sponsors, to talk about their lives, to talk about their careers, because they are the star. And I try to keep that in mind, that I'm not the star like I may have been when I won a Bassmaster Classic. I'm the guy that needs to give them that pedestal or that platform and let them be the star, because they certainly are the stars of our sport.
Well, you do a great job, man. Really, really, really good. Matt and I were kind of talking a little bit about some of the professional athletes that have made the transition from the playing field to the play-by-play or color booth, whatever you want to call it. And, dude, you're right up there. You really are, and one of the top guys that have made that transition.
Well, thank you so much. That means a lot. It really does, because I feel a duty and obligation. This sport has been so good to me. I fished full-time professionally for 23 years, and I have so much to be thankful for. I wouldn't trade it for anything. And I feel like if I can do something positive, like I said, maybe help an angler promote themselves and their sponsors and kind of understand the big picture of this sport, then it's just what I owe back to the sport, and I want to try to do that anytime I can.
We kind of set this question up. I have to ask it. You're a competitor. You're an angler. You did this for 23 years. You fished roughly 300 professional bass fishing tournaments. You don't go that long without a little bit of grudge matches developing with some people. You have on-the-water rubs. You have a get out of my hole, no, you get out of my hole moment. So when you switched over to being a commentator, and you don't have to say names, you could say names. We say names on this show if you want to. Did you have to go to some guys and bury the axe and say, hey, man, I know we've gone at it for 20 years. I'm on the other side now, and really make a concerted effort to that? Or did you just happen to get along with everybody for 23 years and never get into it with anybody?
No, you know that after being on the water for 20 years,
I want a good story, man. I want a good story.
So I guess the best thing would have been to go to them and say, hey, let's bury this axe. I did do that with one person, but there's no way I can give you that name. But other than that, I just feel like if I treat people like you'd like to be treated, now that I have the microphone in my hand, and especially when I'm on site at an event, I just try to be professional and hope they will too. And there's been several times it's like, okay, this is the first time I've had to interview this guy, and the last time we talked, it wasn't pretty. It was 7 years ago on the water. But everyone has been professional. Everyone really has, because you get it, man. It gets heated and things happen on the water, but after a year or two, you're normally out having dinner, drinking a beer with a dude. I mean, it really, things just work. I mean, I roomed with Kevin Van Dam for 12 years. Before that, he and I were, we weren't roommates, and he was, he stayed at Top of Sport for a very long time, and for a little time, I guess I was competitive with him, and I mean, we had some battles out there, but we would never carry it off the water. And then, like I say, just a few years later, we started rooming together until I stopped fishing full time. How
did that go down? I mean, like I said, you had the Angler of the Year, the Cup, the Classic, all that. KVD's on his run. You guys are like, KVD sees you as a threat. You see him as a threat. You're competing. And then it's like, hey, let's be roommates.
Well, I think, and I can't speak for Kevin, but I think we all like to be around people that uplift us, people that are somewhat make us bigger than who we are. And that was certainly part of the reason. I had a lot of respect. I'll have to say Iaconelli's another one. And I have we might have different things that we do when we're off the water, but when you see a dude fish from daylight to dark who is as competitive and that's just two of the names, I can name a lot more. Yeah. When you see a guy do that, man, you got to respect it. You got to respect his love for the game.
One more quick question then. Current Elite Series guys right now, if you had to go back and fish and pick one of the current Elite Series guys to be your roommate and work with, who you going with?
Ooh. Gosh, let me think a minute. I would probably, if I was going to do it now, knowing what I know, I'd probably pick a younger person, maybe a Brandon Cobb or Patrick Walters, something like that, because it's pretty cool to room with somebody that you live in the same part of the country, although Kevin and I didn't. But and I personally, I think if me in my 50s, it would be motivating to me to be around a 20-something-year-old. I think that's the way I would go if I had to do that now.
You and
one
Fritz
of those younger stars.
Fritz would be in bed by 7 p.m.
How good is Patrick Walters, Davey?
He's good. He's good. Brandon Cobb is too. There's, and you guys know this. You've been in the boat with the best in the sport. You've been in the boat with some that aren't quite the best. When you get in the boat with a guy that's got it, you know it immediately. You just see it. And I saw that with Patrick Walters and with Brandon Cobb. And they just happen to be on the tip of my tongue because I'm talking about young South Carolinians. But when you see a guy that's got it, you see it. I mean, you just see it immediately. And Patrick has got it, and he gets it. You know, he's been successful at every level he's been at so far, and now he's at the top level. And he's been successful there, but he's young. I'm sure, you know, some northern swings, that sort of thing. He'll get more comfortable with the smallmouth fishing and all that. And Brandon Cobb the same way. But they're just man. You see him cast, it's like, yeah, that's not just, you know, he can make it happen. But then the decisions they make, not being afraid to make adjustments on the water. I've been able to fish with both of them, and you just see that in those two, no doubt about it.
All right, very nice. I remember, Matt, when I was doing some stuff for Quantum a long time ago during the Elite Series, and I actually had to go to Grand Lake, and Davy and Kevin were staying. It was like a cabin. It was kind of raised up, and it was on the edge of the bank down on the south end of the lake. And I think I kind of walked in on one of those things that Davy was talking about, because I don't know who did it, but somebody messed up dinner. Dinner was burnt or something like that. And him and Kevin were upset.
They're going at it?
Yeah. And he was just like, come on, Jeffries, let's go. Let's go take care of this right now. And all I saw was a little bit of smoke on the stove. So I don't know what happened on that. I don't know if you remember that or not, Davey, but that's
I remember that, no doubt about it. I think Kevin won that event, and I finished third or fourth, something like that. That might have been part of the smoke. We might have been battling.
Was that the Sexy Shad tournament? That was the Sexy Shad tournament.
Yeah.
You're exactly right.
On Millionaire's Point.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but that was really kind of funny because, you know, obviously, you know, Davey, when Kevin gets frustrated, that hat comes off and he scratches his head and he puts the hat back on and then he does it like 10 times. And he was all about doing that before that video. So that's one of those off the water memories from being out there. All right,
you've got him nailed there, Mark. Let me tell you real quick. He does that when he gets frustrated. The other time, if he's telling you about a fishing spot or a good bait, and he's scratching his head and taking that hat on and off, be careful about what you listen to there. Something's going on. He's nervous about what he's telling you.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. All right, let's do this, Davey. Let's take a break. And get a couple of commercials in, then we want to take some questions from the instant feedback, all right? So hold tight, back with Davy Hite.
Let's face it, fishing electronics are no longer an afterthought. They've become a necessity. And at the Bass Tank, our experts match you with the right electronics, provide professional installation, and educate you to help maximize your catching results while providing support along the way. Because let's be honest, it's about catching, not just fishing. And when you're ready for better results, join the Bass Tank team. Visit us today on Facebook or go to thebasstank.com.
Blue Water by TH Marine, offering LED lighting solutions for your boat, trailer, truck, ATV, and so much more. Engineered and built to be rugged with waterproof and submersible options. Designed for easy installation, Blue Water is available in a variety of colors and styles. All backed by a limited lifetime warranty. Blue Water by TH Marine.
The name SPRO says it all. SPRO stands for Sports Professionals. When you look at the pro staff that SPRO has brought on board over the past 15 years, it's been pretty incredible. I mean, one got it just then. From the development of the rock crawler to the McStick, from the Fat Papa to the Little John series, when you tie a SPRO bait on, you know it's been designed by a professional to get the job done.
As a professional angler, you've got so many things on your mind. Any advantage that we have is key. And not only rods and reels and lines and baits, but in our clothes. And the guys at AFCO, they have something for every situation. There's nothing AFCO hasn't thought about with the fishermen in mind. It's designed for fishermen, by fishermen, for every scenario you can come to. Any fish, any water, any condition, AFCO has you covered.
All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks.
Why?
Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get.
It's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com.
The Big Bite Baits Kamikaze Swim On is a very unique bait, and it's got a full body but with ribs to give it a bigger profile but not more plastic. It's got a jointed tail that gives it a lot of action, as well as this up and down crawl type trail with holes and ribs in it, so it creates a bubble trail almost. This bait is supposed to be fished upside down or vertical like this on a great for a chatterbait. I prefer it on a swim jig as well, but you can also cut it down and put it on the back of a finesse jig. You know, flip it around for some spotted bass or flipping docks. Anytime you want a small, compact, you know, little trailer for it, this is great for it. So check out the full lineup of swim-ons at bigbitebaits.com.
All right, we are back on a Thursday, closing out the week, and it is time to go to the instant feedback with our special guest, Davy Hite. And right off the bat, Davy, Andy in Indiana wants to know, do you have any concerns about the New York swing, obviously with the COVID-19 situation?
Well, I mean, I think we all have concerns whether there's a tournament or not. I mean, you have to be mindful of what's going on. I mean, it's a worldwide pandemic. I have been to obviously all three of these sites, and it's not like New York City. If you've ever been around there, you know, these places are places that I think you can social distance, and I just think we have to be smart. I'm concerned. We're learning more and more every week, I think, about this virus and about things we can and cannot do. I know South Carolina has been one of the leaders in reopening some from boat ramps to restaurants at 50%, and our numbers have gone down a lot more so than some other states that haven't opened some things up. So who knows? I'm no doctor, but I think you just have to be smart. There's going to be some people who feel like they need to wear masks, wear gloves. I certainly wash my hands like a bazillion times a day, and I have ever since before the Bassmaster Classic. So I just think we have to be smart. And, you know, at this first event that you follow, we're not going to have spectators, not going to have fans there, which I hate that because that's what our sport's all about. That may continue, that may not. I think we just, like I said, have to be smart and listen to the people that are, you know, covering this.
All right, Matt in Minnesota wants to know, do you think we will see some guys at the top of the leaderboard that may come out of left field, kind of surprise a lot of people because of the time of the year that we're fishing and because of the back-to-back-to-back situation?
Yeah, absolutely. Both of those things are definitely good points. I think we'll see some anglers that, you know, some sight fishermen for the last, ever since the Elite started, there's been a lot of places we would go. Probably the majority of those you could find some bedding bass. And now we're not going to have that. Maybe up there in New York for those couple of tournaments, but your Chickamauga, your Santee Coopers, your St. Clair in August, those things, you're going to see some good fall fishermen. You're going to see some fishermen that excel when the conditions are tough, and it may only take 13 or 14 pounds a day to win an event.
All right, great question from Clay in Arkansas. Wants to know, what is something that you have learned behind the mic that you wished you would have done when you were still tournament fishing?
I wished I would have watched the Bass Live and the shows more than I did. And I'll just be honest, tell on myself here a little bit. I'd come back from a tournament. If I did really well, I thought, wow, no need to watch that show. I knew what was going on. And then if I did really poorly, I wouldn't want to watch because I'd just be frustrated or mad at myself. But as much as you can watch a Bassmaster show or the Bass Live, you can learn something. And here's one thing I talk about sometimes on Bass Live. I mean it with all my heart. Watching a guy not catch them, you can learn just as much as a guy catching them. the adjustments he makes. Does he stay? Does he make a 20-mile run and totally change his plan? Watching a guy, especially an angler that's had a lot of success, what he does when he's not catching them, you can learn a lot.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever seen someone who is completely spun out catch them? This is a personal question. Like, once you spun out, are the guys done? You ever see anyone who's just completely off the rails and they still manage to catch them somehow? Or are they toast?
I've seen some guys that were had one toe left on the rail, and then they caught one, and it changed everything, and they made it happen. I've seen, especially like in the Classic or late in the year around AOY when a guy's leading AOY with just a tournament or two. But to answer your question directly, I've never seen anybody catch them when they're completely spun out. But I've seen some people they were really close, and then all of a sudden caught that one magic fish.
That's not good news for me. Have you ever been completely spun out on the water or in the broadcast in either way where you're like, I am way off the rails right now?
I've been on the water. I guess the closest I've been to spun out is when you have some kind of issue with another angler where you get the back and forth. And I learned after like one or two of those, don't do the back and forth. Say, hey, dude, we'll finish this. Not fist fight off the water, but we'll finish this off the water, or we'll go to the tournament director after this is over and not let that spin you out, because you don't have time for that. And it took me a few years to learn that, but the closest I've ever been is to get in those confrontations about, did you fish here yesterday? Did I fish here? And all that stuff. You need to settle that off the water. And there again, I'm not talking about go meet the guy and smack him when he steps on the ramp. I mean to settle it, going to the tournament director or whatever you need to do.
All right. Scott in Indiana wants to know about the mop jig. And his comment is there still a place for the mop jig? It just seems like it was a trend because everybody is downsizing now. What are your thoughts on the mop jig? I
disagree with that. I think there's still a place for it. There's been a couple classics just in recent history, one primarily on a mop jig. And if you watch classic shows, you can figure it out. One might have been a football mop, one might have been a regular mop, but those were mop jigs. And, I didn't tell the whole world that while it was going on, but it's just kind of a few years later, I think the record needs to be straight, what baits are used and being caught on. And the mop jigs still here's my big thing that I did in my career. I used small baits when I thought guys were using bigger baits, and I'd use big baits when I thought guys were using small baits. And because I think those fish, they get accustomed to seeing the same baits, obviously the same colors, all that sort of thing. So I try to go different than the other guys, because those bigger fish, sometimes you need to finesse to catch those big fish because they're seeing those power fishing type baits, and sometimes you need to go just the opposite. If they see a 4-inch worm all the time and all of a sudden there's a 6-inch Seco, I think I got a good chance of catching that fish.
Along the line of the baits, I believe the brush hog might have been out before the bacon rind was, but were you the first angler to win a major tournament on a creature bait that was called a creature bait? I mean, I know that there was stuff with appendages and stuff off the arms, but really that kind of bulky brush hog bacon rind style creature bait?
I think you're right, Matt. I'm not 100%, but I don't know of any. And the brush hog came out just a little bit before the bacon rind, and there were a few other baits that were similar to that. But I guess that's the first major win on a big creature bait.
I was thinking about that. I mean, that's a pretty significant win there. Then
yeah.
There's been a lot of tournaments won on a creature bait like that since then.
Heck yeah. All right. Bryce in Illinois wants to know, could you share any stories about the 98 championship that was on the Mississippi?
The first thing that comes to mind is the long run, and Tommy Biffle was fishing the same backwater area that I was fishing. Everybody that knows Tommy, both of you guys know him. I mean, he's a pretty fierce competitor. And the first thing that comes to mind is we were able to talk, and we basically drew an imaginary line. I fish over here, you fish over there. I don't want to have to sit at that line trying to ward you off, and you shouldn't have to do the same for me. We can just go in there and fish and know that, hey, this is my half of the deal and this is his half of the deal. And Tommy held to his word, and so did I. It worked out, and it's still a little frustrating for me, not as much as him, I bet, but we were just right there the whole tournament, first and second the entire time, and I ended up winning the $250,000, and second place was only 25, and I think he had 12 ounces less than me. That seemed a little unfair, but I have to admit I cashed the whole check and didn't give Tommy any of it.
And he didn't even try to cut you.
Yeah, Tommy had quite a few seconds. Matt pointed that out at the beginning of the show. All right, Kevin in North Carolina wants to know, can you give any advice for somebody that's going to marshal for the first time?
I would say if I was going to marshal, knowing what I know, take plenty to drink, take plenty to eat. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Probably the first hour or so of the day, just watch and kind of see what the guy's doing. We all have our different, some guys jerk the trolling motor up and they want to be wide open in 2.3 seconds. Some guys will give you, hey, this is my last cast kind of deal. But just be real alert at the first part. Don't be nervous. They're humans just like we are. Just do a lot of watching and listening there in the first hour, and then ask questions and get to know the angle a little bit more. But there's a lot of pressure on those guys, especially that first morning of the event. Just understand that and watch and enjoy the day. One of the best compliments I ever got was from a co-angler that said a couple of his friends that don't fish want to know, why would you want to go sit in a boat and watch anglers fish? And one particular one that asked him that was a big college basketball fan. He says, why do you pay the crazy amount of dollars that you pay to sit on the front row and watch basketball? These are my heroes. This is the sport I love, and I want a front row seat. So that's pretty awesome.
That is cool. All right, let's see here. Lenny in Arkansas wants to know, what's the hairiest run that you've ever made during a tournament?
I know what he's going to say, but I wonder what the hairiest run he's made it back, or just the hairiest run, period.
Yeah, you had to be more specific about hairy runs, but I can tell you the first two that popped in my mind. Number one is the longest run I ever made was on the Mississippi. It was an FLW event. It was 180 miles each way. So the first, and I'd never made that run because you could put in other places, but the first day of the event when I ran it and stopped at 70 miles an hour for 180 miles, my head was buzzing like no other. I learned right then to put ear protection in because it's like sticking your head out of the window of your truck and ride down the interstate for 3 hours. I mean, that's really what it was like. So I learned a little bit about that. That was my longest run. The hairiest run was actually on the St. Lawrence River out on Lake Ontario. It's an event. Gosh, I hate to keep talking about Kevin finishing first, and I finished second way back in the 90s. But the last day it was really, really bad, and my boat, we were at 18-footers back then, and my boat literally came apart. The rub rail popped out with a few miles to go to get back into the river. The screws had backed out, busted the windshield, tore off grass, that sort of thing. It's probably, I'll just go ahead and man up and say, the scariest ride I've ever had. We can call it hairy and be macho men, but I was scared for my life and my partner, no doubt.
Wow. Let's see here. Interesting question from Steven. Do you think we'll ever see an Elite Series event north of the border in Canada?
Not with what's going on right now. Ever? Yeah, I would say yes. It could certainly happen. It would be cool. Other events, some of the football games, they go over and they had a game this year. I remember watching part of one right there in England. But there's that could happen in the future. But what's going on with this virus right now? I don't think it's going to be on the schedule next year.
Yeah. I agree with you 100% there. All right, Hank in Florida wants to know, who do you think is the most intense angler on the Elite Series right now?
Right now? Gosh, when you say intense, and intense is different than competitive or not competitive, but when I still see Rick Clunn. I still see like right before takeoff in the mornings, dude. He's intense. And here's something that I had a friend that was a co-angler for Rick one day, and I do this a little bit, but it's a great statement coming from him. He caught a 5-pounder, in his, how many million 5-pounders has he caught in his career? This was just like 2 or 3 years ago. and he was shaking so hard when he was trying to retie his bait that he had to stop and like take a deep breath or two and shake it. And my buddy asked, like, "Wow, you still shake when you catch a 5-pounder?" And he said, "Oh, absolutely. I'll stop fishing when I don't shake after I catch a 5-pounder." But he is, I would think, just as intense now as he was 40 years ago.
What's your relationship with Rick? I mean, he's seen you come in as a rookie, fish your entire career, win everything, retire, and now have another career. And he's done the same thing 10 years before, and he'll do it 10 years after.
Yeah, he just has a different goals. And I respect, if someone wants to fish the Elite Series until they're 100, more power to them. I never wanted to do that. Like I mentioned about some other guys, I mean, you can't not respect Rick Clum for his fishing ability and what he has done on the water. And that'll never change for me, for anybody that you see not only has success, but you can see passion. And he's got it as much as anyone I've ever been around. But I never wanted to fish at that age. I talked about, 20 years before I started doing this, working with Bass Live, that what am I going to do after I retire? Because I didn't choose to want to fish tournaments when I was 70.
Yeah. All right. Brian from Lake Norman wants to know, with the change of schedule, is it possible that Zona might be doing more shows with you guys in studio or outside of studio?
I think with the change in schedules right now, and like I say, things could change with all this. We're glad to get back going, but right now we're planning on either Zona being in studio or me being in studio and the other one being on site. So we should be working together in every event, but I don't know of but one event that I think Zona and I together will be in studio. I think Tommy, Zona, and I will all be working at all of these events, but when Zona's on the water, I'm usually in studio, and when I'm on the water, Zona's usually in studio with Tommy.
All right. Andy wants to know, do you think Ronnie Moore is going to be the next Tommy Sanders when Tommy decides that he's done?
Well, Ronnie Moore thinks that right now.
Wow. All right. Well, everybody has goals.
And hey, more power to him. I don't blame him for having those goals. Ronnie, it's funny. Ronnie and I started, and I was still fishing the first look. Ronnie was a new guy on the scene, and it was the first time I had a microphone in my hand. So I have a lot of respect for Ronnie and his goals and that sort of thing. But I'm sure Ronnie, because Ronnie has goals and he's passionate about them, and he's doing a great job. And there again, he's another guy that works so hard. You have to appreciate him. But I would be disappointed if Ronnie didn't want to take Tommy Sanders' job once Tommy decides to retire.
Yeah, man, Tommy's been doing it a long time.
He's great. He's I can't say enough about Tommy Sanders. He's a consummate professional. Even when he's around clowns like me and Zona that try to get him, I mean, he's the guy. He's the professional in the room, always.
All right, you don't have to answer this, but if you can, so be it. When you, Tommy, and Zona go out to dinner, who usually picks up the tab?
We split it up pretty good.
Okay.
We really do. I mean, I can think of times where Tommy has bought our dinner. I can think of times I've done it. I can think of times that Zona done it. We do pretty good splitting it up. I had to say, I think we're all pretty. In fact, the last time I was in studio, Tommy and I went out to lunch, and I bought his lunch that first day. And the next day, it wasn't like I was like, okay, it's your turn to buy. I mean, he grabbed the ticket up. I'm like, no. And he's like, no. So yeah. I think I've got some other friends, not so much, but I think the three of us do a pretty good job splitting it up.
All right, very nice.
I've got one more question
that
I have, and that's it. I mean, we got Eric Lopez on, Elo, who does all the on-site stuff. We got him to talk about, boats hit the classic stage where they thought they were going to have to shut down weigh-ins and all that. I mean, some crazy stuff. What's the craziest thing that's happened on live where you went, oh no, the ship is falling apart and no one knew anything went wrong that you haven't told, but that you could tell now?
So I guess this comes to mind. It might be because we were just talking about Ronnie Moore, but my first year doing Bassmaster Live, and I'll be the first one to admit I'm still not very good at it, but I feel more comfortable than I did in my first year.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm in studio, when I'm on the water, I feel fine because I'm on the water, I'm in my boat. But in studio that first year, I was so nervous, and I know that Tommy Sanders basically carried me. And one morning we're about to go on live, and the producer Mike McKinnis comes out and he says, "Tommy's got a bug. He's not going to be here." And I like, oh crap. And he's like, "You'll be fine." I was like, "Me sitting here at this desk by myself?" And he said, "No, Ronnie will fill in and be there beside you." And I'm thinking, oh crap, everything's going to go terrible. And Ronnie's like, "I'm glad he's gone. Here's my chance to sit in that seat." He was like smiling. He was smiling. He was so happy that he was going to do that. And I was about to puke because I thought, oh my gosh, we're going to be terrible without Tommy here. So, but it all worked out. Yeah. But I thought the wheels were coming off.
Wow, that's great. Now, can you elaborate at all? I think I heard or saw something that there's actually going to be some live coverage during the Bassmaster Opens. Are you going to be involved with that at all, Davey?
I'll be honest with you, Mark. I just read that today in an email, so that's news to me.
Okay.
I might be getting a call here in the next hour or so. I just did some stuff. There's an announcement coming out really, really soon. I did some stuff with Tommy and Ronnie and the guys in the studio yesterday, Skype. But that's the first I heard about it. I want to ask you guys' opinion because I saw something else in that email about there being a co-angler, angler of the year. What's your thoughts on that? I know FLW did that a while, but this would be the first time I think Bass has done that.
I think it's good. I mean, I fished the coastas in the Opens before, and I think there's a place for the high-end co-angler. I really do, and I think that's at the Open and the coastas. And you look, there used to be a lot more, I believe, prize money in that kind of co-angler field with it at the end. So I've switched over the past 2 or 3 years on this. I think a co-angler can be valuable. A co-angler can save your day sometimes. Mentally, from a mental standpoint, you can learn from them as much as they can learn from you. And, man, they got a lot into it. A good co-angler. Now, do I think maybe all co-anglers should have to go through a class where they sit there and someone from Bass sits there and explains to them how to be a co-angler? Yes. Is it going to be beneficial for 80% of them? No, they know what to do. But there's 20% of them that, they might learn a few things that makes their day way more enjoyable for that pro up front. So you see what I'm saying? On an even playing field, as long as you have good co-anglers that aren't affecting the outcome negatively for their boaters, man, reward the heck out of them. They got a lot of time, a lot of effort. They're traveling away from their family as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree.
Yep, and I agree with you too. And a lot of the anglers that I fished with and against for so many years totally disagree with me when I'd say this, but I agree with you, man. I think you can learn a lot from a co-angler. They've got stake in the game, no doubt about it. And get over the fact that he caught a 7-pounder behind you, you didn't catch it. Mm-hmm. And you might be lucky that he caught it instead of the guy that you're competing against coming down the bank 10 minutes later and catching it. I mean, there's so many positive things if you look at it from a different direction about co-anglers being there.
At that level, yeah. And so I like reward them. I mean, they got to put up with some crap too. and it's a history and it's a part of the sport. We're not that far removed from draw tournaments with the best in the world. And when it comes down to it, fishing, even though it is a single sport like tennis, golf, bowling, it's also a sport that is built on camaraderie. Yeah. And it's also a sport that's built on sharing experiences. And I'll tell you what, I fished a tournament this past weekend by myself. And I caught, a really cool fish at the boat that fought and stuff. And I'm holding it and I'm like, nah, no one saw that one. Put it in the boat. I mean, I would be talking about it with the co-angler, talking now, what do you think? You think we could go hit the shad spawn, over here, just bouncing stuff off of them, depending on who it was. On day 2, I had a co-angler, and man, we had a great time. And he caught a fish out of a bush that I flipped 30 times and moved the power poles, and he flipped behind, and I hear whoosh, and I wasn't upset. I wasn't going to flip that bush anymore, but he never flipped any bushes that I was going to flip. He was a good co-angler.
Yeah, I think, Davey, there's 3 things. 1, you got to communicate. You have to communicate when you're in that boat together. 2, and I think the biggest one is you got to be respectful of what's taking place in the environment that you're trying to be competitive. And then thirdly is you have to understand what the situation is. You know, we had, who was it that we had on? Man, somebody was talking about how a co-angler would constantly cast over the line of the guy that was on the front deck of the boat. Well, if you communicate and really do a good job at establishing how you guys are going to work together.
That's what I'm saying. Have an online seminar for the co-anglers or something. So if you're in the front of the boat and the boaters know what those are. I mean, you can't do a hard and fast rule as far as, center line of the boat and stuff. But if you know that the guy in the back of your boat has seen, has heard, has been told these are unwritten rules of etiquette that you should follow. And yeah, there's times when you're going to be 5 feet from the bank because your guy's on a bluff bite. Here's, that's why you're paying less and don't have the boat and all that. But it doesn't mean that he's trying to screw you. He's trying to do what he has to do. You don't know what that guy's situation. He's trying to make the Elite Series. He's trying to make a check. He's trying to pay his rent. So if you have that and you know that the co-angler knows what he's going to get into. So if you have this seminar, the co-angler knows, okay, I might be 5 feet from the bank. Now I'm thinking of situations I can deal with it. The boater knows this co-angler has seen something that knows not to cast over the front of my line. It takes all the communication barriers out so everyone knows what to expect. Then you get a guy who crosses over your line and you're like, yeah, this guy's just a jerk. And then you can deal with it that way because you know what he knows and he knows what you know. And then the communication can begin to figure out what it is. That's my soapbox.
Yeah. I agree with both of you. And Mark, to your point, communication is always best. I mean, but I agree. If everybody's been told, hey, this is kind of the unwritten rules, it's better. But the communication part is so important because so many times the guy's not trying to be a jerk. He just doesn't know. He doesn't understand what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish. But here's a real quick one I will say. You start that communication maybe if you get thrown over your line a couple times. But here's something I learned. If a co-angler gets in your boat and brings fresh homemade cookies or brings you a biscuit, brings you something really, really nice, then you need to start having that communication. Then you have to say, listen, if I eat 2 of these cookies, that does not give you authority to throw over my line. And once you get that out of the way, it's all good.
Yeah, but that's a great point.
Are you one of those guys where you had the co-angler, you'd look back and you'd be like, listen, I got to go down this bank. I know you're not going to have a lot to cast to. I would recommend dragging a shaky head behind it, maybe throwing a spinner bait behind the boat, but I'm going to do this because I have to. I realize you don't have the best opportunity. Sorry about that. It is what it is.
Absolutely. And I learned that through the years. When you don't communicate and you get frustration built up inside, and then maybe you lose a fish and you get frustrated at yourself and all that stuff just snowballs. But if you talk to your co-angler and you understand and you let them know, hey, there's not a white line drawn down the center of this boat. Some situations, sure, you can throw in front of the boat. Don't throw over my line, please. But you can. But then in some situations, maybe it isn't cool to throw in front. You just have to use that communication. I promise you, most of the time, like 98% of the time, those guys don't mean to get in your way. They're out there to have fun and to catch some fish and learn from you. And it's just lack of communication, like you said, Mark.
Yeah. All right, man. Last question, and then we'll let you go. Obviously, with all the hardware behind you, I'm curious, are you a collector of memories? In other words, when you won the Classic, when you won the Cup, did you keep some of the lures that you used? Did you keep the rod and reel? Was there anything kept from a memory standpoint from those great victories?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm that kind of guy. I've still got a pack of bacon rinds that was in my boat when I won the Classic. I've got the rod and reel. I actually won the Cup and the Classic on the same rod and reel, and I've got it hanging in my tackle shop. Cool. The rod and reel. One I was throwing a frog, the other one I was pitching a bacon rind, but they were both, it was a flipping stick.
How is that
that's
not
really
in the Bass
cool,
Fishing Hall of Fame? Serious?
Well, I did put my Angler of the Year trophies up there, but that rod and reel, that's I know that one's special. It just really, really is.
Very nice, man. That's cool stuff. All right, Davey, man, we're going to let you go. Thank you so much for taking time out. I know it's going to be a very busy second half of the year for you guys, but you do just a fantastic job, and can't wait to see you guys back in studio and on the water doing what you do, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate what y'all do. Give me a call anytime. Love to be on.
All right, man. Take care, Davey. All right, there you have it, Davy Hite. Wow, that's really cool about the rod and reel.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
As I said, that needs to be in the
Yeah.
The Bass Fishing Hall of Fame there.
Yeah, very good. All right, great way to wrap up the week, Matt. Next week, as I mentioned, we're going to have Scott Canterbury on. We're going to have Jamie Hartman, and then hopefully Mark Menendez next week as we prepare for finally tournament fishing here in the great nation that we live in.
Sounds great. I'm gonna go watch Zone Alive now.
So is he fishing with combs?
I don't know. I haven't seen.
Oh, I thought you might.
But it's for smallmouth.
Oh, imagine
up
that.
north. So.
Well, imagine that. Imagine that. All right, great stuff, people. Once again, thank you. We surpassed 7,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're getting a lot more reviews on iTunes. We greatly appreciate that. And if you have not entered in the Apex Bass Games, please do that on basszone.com. That's it. We got a little charity high school competition going on this weekend in the rain. We'll see what happens with that. My expectations are very low. What about yours, Matt?
I have no expectations.
I've been on the lake one time. It's going to rain. I'm going to throw topwater all day long. Will I catch anything?
It depends if your kid does. I would have the talk. Listen, I'm committed. I would suggest something subsurface behind me because there's a good chance I'll be fishing through several.
That's a good point, man.
You're going to have 3 Carolina rigs and a bed fishing bait rigged up.
He's just going to look at me and
2 of them are going to have that chartreuse French fry on it. He's going to look at it and be like, what's this plastic thing on a catfish rig? You're going to be like, that is what we call a Carolina rig.
Yeah. All right, going to have fun with that. All right, everybody, be safe. We will talk to you on Monday. That's it. We're out of here.